So, there's no doubt about it. Legion has more content for us to do at level cap than ever before in any expansion. And I would say more varied as well, because if there's only one type of content that you don't really get a great deal of that has existed in the past, in my mind, and that is scenarios. We sort of get them every now and then, whereas there were scenarios as a big thing in MOP. But apart from that, you can't really point to any content that we used to have that we don't have right now. It could be different, maybe you preferred it at a particular time in the past or whatever. So why then do we consider that a lot of people are very turned off by the content? In terms of like more serious raiders such as myself, like Mythic Raiders, you can sort of see the burnout effect of it. That's definitely true. But we are, as we keep being told, the minority of the player base. The recent shareholder information that was brought out, the quarterly news effectively for how Activision Blizzard are doing, there was this strange little comment on which I didn't unfortunately pick up until I was watching Az's video from Heels vs Babyface, which is that Legion is doing better than WoD. No surprise to me, but it's a bit better than WoD. That's more of a surprise to me, because although I understand that revenue isn't directly tied to the number of players the game has, I get that. It's not, looking at the profits that even one game is making isn't an indication of how many players are playing it, because there are so many other services we get. And it could well be that some of those profits has come as a result of increasing numbers of people, for example, buying the WoW token. Maybe that's the thing. Although I find that a bit more difficult to believe, given that in Europe, at any rate, the cost of the WoW token goes up and up and up. I mean, when they were first introduced, it was bouncing a lot. It was bouncing between, say, I don't know, something like 25 to 50,000 gold, something like that. Does that seem about right? Now it's up to about 200,000 gold, which is great for me, because I tend to buy them with real money and then get the gold from them, because I can't be bothered to farm. Fantastic. But, and I was watching that video from Az, and he was explaining why it was that he doesn't want to play the game anymore. And people, some people, when I talked about that yesterday, were putting comments such as he's quite a toxic player, things like that. I'm not really sure he is. I think probably what it was is for some months he's been a disenfranchised player, and therefore his video is a bit more negative. I still love the game. I still play it a lot. I played on 2 accounts. I spent quite a lot of money on the game. So, my stuff's going to be overwhelmingly positive. So then I start to think about it. Okay, so what have we got? Dungeons. Dungeons are a lot more, not only accessible these days, but better because they're there for everyone now. With Mythic Plus, we've got dungeons that are, you push yourself as hard as you want to get. So people are engaging in dungeons. Blizzard said, we're going to make dungeons relevant again. Have they done that? God, yes. Absolutely, they've done that. In terms of what to do at level cap, the idea of questing through zones is something we've always associated with leveling. Sure, there's still quests left over for us to do when we've reached level cap, but we know we're doing leveling content. Now that's been changed, and Blizzard are trying to change our attitudes towards that, and that may take a bit of time, because they created an entire zone with a full set of quests in it, plenty of quest lines, just as many quest lines as any other zone, but you couldn't access it until you got to level cap. It's a bit like saying, no, questing isn't just for leveling anymore. It's actually part of the game. So we've got that content in there as well now. The world quests, okay, different people have different attitudes to the world quests, but it's still a layer of content. I mean, what did we have before? We sort of potentially had world quests, sort of, in the game before, but they were dailies, weren't they? They were dailies. They were there just to get reputation. And as soon as we got the reputation, we couldn't be bothered with them anymore. Is that still the case now? No. We're still doing them. There's that reward side of it there. There's always something you want to get. But it's a reward-based game, really, anyway. The rewards in World of Warcraft are largely material. It's gear and things related to gear, getting currencies related to gear. So within the confines of the game, that has expanded. So we've got that in there. The raiding has always been really good. There might have been an individual tier in WoW on a very rare number of occasions when the actual raid tier wasn't brilliant. But in each expansion, the raiding has always been good quality. And is it good quality now? Yes, it is. And is it as accessible now? Yes, it is. We had an issue with WoD when they brought, when they really cemented. They didn't bring in, I suppose that came in end of MOP. But they really cemented the 4 difficulties and the flex nature of the middle 2. And one thing I bemoaned is that there were not very many heroic guilds making the push to Mythic. Now there are many more of these doing it. So it's sort of growing into it. And again, that's expanding the experience as well. There are negatives to that, of course. We could talk about that. Still, people feel, And when I think about it now from another point of view, I sort of think, maybe they've got a point, that a lot of it is very repetitive. Sure, dungeons are there, they are relevant now, and they're relevant for everyone. But they are, and the affixes try and make them a little bit different, the experiences, but they are still largely the same. In fact, unless you're pushing a very, very high key, a lot of the time you don't concern yourself excessively with the affixes. You still approach them in pretty much the same way. It's only when you're pushing yourself to the very edge of yourself and your group. And actually, a lot of people don't do that. There's only, I think, the same people who do that now, probably the same people who did challenge modes before. There might be slightly more people, but most people are doing ones that are sort of within their comfort zone. Even if they're pushing it a bit, they're not pushing it a lot. You know, people like myself. So you don't really change according to the affixes very much. And then you consider the world quests, very samey. They are very samey. I mean, although you would say they're sort of varied in themselves, it is very samey. So then you think to yourself, and of course you understand that Blizzard need this procedurally generated content. In other words, they can't be creating actually genuinely new content every week. That would be laughable. So they need to create content that would last, that you can keep doing. And you think to yourself, well, and they've done that. So the world quests are like that, and there's lots of them, and they keep adding new ones, and you know, and it goes into a part RNG. So you shouldn't be getting the same ones all the time. Fair enough, but you do still notice the same ones coming up now and then. And also, there's only so many types. The Kirin Tor puzzly type ones, you know, bit of interest there. But again, is that really enough for some people? It's not. Then you think about the raids themselves, and are people being jaded by the fact they can do LFR? And they're encouraged. The thing is, with the way Artifact Power and Legendaries is in the game now, that you're encouraged to do all these. So you're encouraged to do LFR, then you're encouraged to do normal, then you're encouraged to do heroic, then you're encouraged to do mythic. Are people being jaded by having to do multiple difficulties? I would say yes. I mean, I would say it's probably better if you just got people to do one of them. So instead of being able to get artifact power tokens from every boss in every difficulty, maybe it's just the first difficulty you come across, but maybe the amount of artifact doesn't depend on the difficulty you're doing it in. But anyway, just these are some ideas. But then the other thing I was thinking of, maybe we're looking at this from the wrong way. Maybe I'm looking at it from the wrong way because I've played World of Warcraft for so long. It's been my main game for so long. And although there are some other MMOs I play now and then, I sort of think, oh yeah, actually that feature I quite like. I prefer that over World of Warcraft. Are there some features, are there some ways of doing things that might actually work for World of Warcraft? I actually think there are a few that might. Games that I have played to a reasonable degree, things like even Lord of the Rings Online, which celebrated its 10th anniversary and looks very dated now, a very basic game. But even that's got some things that actually might work in World of Warcraft. Star Wars The Old Republic, Elder Scrolls Online. And there's other MMOs that other people are playing as well. So what I'm proposing is in next week's Tuesday talk, the discussion we have from 7 PM UK time, details there, www.twitch.tv/6Thete. What we could do is discuss some of the ways that Blizzard could take in the next expansion, maybe a radically different approach, still allows them this procedurally generated content, still fits within the way that World of Warcraft is, still fits what people would expect, but maybe introduces a way to have plenty of content that doesn't jade people so much. Are there ideas from other MMOs that could fit that? So that's what we're going to talk about then. Hope you found this interesting. And if you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share further content. Join us next Tuesday on the live discussion. If you can't, just like last week, I'll try and do an edited version of the first half hour or so, because that's where we'll really focus on that topic. And I'll put that up on YouTube as well. And then afterwards, we'll just have a free-for-all discussion as we did last week. It actually lasted quite a while. So if you are a little late to it, feel free to pop on anyway. We'll probably still be going. So thanks very much, and I'll see you later.